Hello everyone, and welcome to the long-awaited part 1 of my Origami King retrospective. This game is an underrated treasure, sadly weighed down by its most recent predecessors. There are so many excellent aspects of this game that I simply can't cover them all in one video. So I'll be splitting this extensive, exhaustive breakdown into 4 parts. The first 2 will cover the story, while parts 3 and 4 will cover gameplay. There are so many good things in this game that go over the heads of reviewers I've seen. I want to make a full breakdown covering every aspect of this incredible game. And I want to make a video explaining all of the wonders to be found in this game to the world at large. In the course of this video, I will compare aspects of the Origami King to other Paper Mario and Mario RPG games to highlight many of its phenomenal aspects. If you like analyses of games, review and retrospective content, tier lists, and even Let's Plays, please like and subscribe. I want to make more content down the line, so any support is immensely appreciated. One day, I hope this channel will be something. Please help me make that dream come true. Before we start, all video and musical content belongs to their respective owners, who will be credited at the end of each part. Also, if you disagree with this video, or just have something to share, please leave a comment. I would love to hear some more perspectives. With that out of the way, let the analysis commence. The most important aspect of any story is the first few minutes. It's evident now that Sticker Star was doomed as soon as it introduced Silent Bowser, the Sticker Festival, and, of course, Kirsty. The Origami King opens like Color Splash before it with no storybook intro. This former staple of the series gave context to the world through exposition and presented some characters and plot beats in the following cutscene. I'll talk about how framing devices work better in small doses throughout the story in Chapter 4, but for now I will simply say that the storybook openings were serviceable in the original trilogy. They're not necessary, but they introduced the story well. Starting with Sticker Star, however, it became evident to Tanabe, Miyamoto, and the fandom that storybook expositions no longer made sense. Why bother opening the game with the opening of a book if the objective of the series is no longer to tell stories? It just became a haphazard inclusion that served no purpose. So, it was removed thereafter, much to the dismay of hardcore traditionalists. It was a polarizing decision, to be sure, but greatly improved the pacing of the opening minutes of both Color Splash and the Origami King. Color Splash opens with Peach delivering a letter sent from Prism Island containing a toad, having all its blood sucked dry, folded into a letter at Mario's house. Mario and Peach, desperate to solve the mystery, set off for the mysterious island. Perfect! That's exposition, setting, and conflict established in about a minute. Now let's look at Origami King for comparison. Our story begins with Mario and Luigi driving to the Origami Festival that Peach invited them to. When they arrive, however, the town appears deserted. The emptiness of Toad Town is a deliberate setting of tone in the very first minute of the game. For context, Paper Mario 64 and Sticker Star presents Toad Town as a bustling, lively town where there is nothing wrong with. It's always fun to explore towns and take a break from the normal action. Thousand Year Door as Rogueport, bursting with life and criminal activity, easily my second favorite hub town in the series. Color Splash as Port Prisma, which is robust in color as well as life. Super Paper Mario has Flip and Flopside, which are undoubtedly the worst the series has ever seen. Take all the fun of exploring and relaxing in a sprawling town, strip all of it away, and make the town a generic set of stone platforms in the middle of nowhere, limit exploration to 2 dimensions. Yeah, I realize you can flip to 3D, but that's not how normal traversal is intended. The flip mechanic is normally just supposed to be used for puzzles. And the elevators, who designed this game and thought players don't want cohesion to the world they explore. They just want to slowly move from place to place in a small enclosed area while traversing in 2D through boring stone platforms. I got sidetracked for a moment there, excuse me. As I was saying, all Paper Mario games have some form of a hub town to explore, and every game before Origami King opened to a lively town full of secrets and exploration, to various degrees of success, of course, but this game would be when that finally changed. Toad Town at the start of the Origami King is devoid of any activity or life. It's a ghost town, figuratively speaking. This is such an effective tone-setting element that I'm appalled that I've seen no one so much as mention the style change. The void nature of the desert town highlights the serious and cataclysmic nature of this game. No longer are the NPCs completely oblivious and unaffected by the villain's actions until the very end. This game immediately establishes real stakes and consequences that were not present in any other game in this franchise. Do you know what would have ruined that completely? If the game had opened with a pointless storybook explaining what the Origami Festival was about and the traditions behind it. I know this because it ruined Sticker Star's opening and dismissed that game as nothing more than a disposable, recycled filth. Origami King, on the other hand, uses its lack of a traditional framing device to tell a more compelling story than ever before, all beginning with a splendid introduction. The conflict of any story has the capacity to make or break it. Every Paper Mario game prior to the Origami King had the conflict made evident immediately after the exposition, most of the time before the game even started. The one exception to this rule is the Thousand Year Door, which suffers from a major continuity error at its start. It is so apparent and damaging to the beginning of the story that I'm amazed that no one has spoken about it. For context, when Mario arrives at Rogueport, Toadsworth tells him that Peach has disappeared and has likely been kidnapped, in a strangely calm tone given his characterization in games such as Partners in Time. At this point, all Mario knows is that there is a mysterious gang of thugs looking for crystal stars. Yet without a second of hesitation, he immediately deduces that the treasure hunt for the chest behind the Thousand Year Door is somehow related to Peach and her captors. He somehow suspects that one group of goons he happened to meet upon his arrival in Rogueport are responsible for Peach's kidnapping in a town full of criminals. And if he didn't possess the magical ability of deducing that a specific group of criminals were responsible, then that would imply he simply starts a fetch quest treasure hunt with no regard for Peach's safety and just was astronomically lucky that the two happened to be connected. Before anyone starts typing in the comments, no, the map doesn't count, there is no reason to suspect that Peach's kidnapping has anything to do with the map. It is a far more logical deduction to suspect Bowser or the local mafia syndicate. Why does Mario think that a random treasure hunters are after Peach? For those of you who think that I'm just nitpicking, allow me to present you with a hypothetical. Bowser kidnaps Peach, as he always does at the start of the game. The X-Nauts simply choose a different maiden for their summoning ritual for the Shadow Queen. Mario, who then arrives at Rogueport as per Peach's request, suspects a group of thugs he meets are related to Peach. The story would progress in the exact same way, except Peach would never get rescued and Mario's motivation to gather the crystal stars suddenly becomes irrelevant. I mention this because I want to establish how easy it is to get the conflict wrong in a story, and the myriad of problems that arise from one simple issue. Origami King, comparatively, has a slow build to its conflict, but not in a way that compromises the cohesion of the story as seen with the Thousand Year Door. As Mario and Luigi make their way through the castle, just as barren as the town it looks over, they are confronted by the twisted and terrifying contortion of Peach that speaks to them in a cryptic, eerie manner. Luigi falls down a pit left by Ollie to stop any opponents of the new Origami regime, and the player is left unsure of his survival. Peach asks Mario to join the Origami Empire, but no matter what he says, she drops him into a pit, leaving him for dead. The reasons for this interaction will be elaborated in another part, so stay tuned for that, but for now, just know that it makes sense and will be explained later. Mario falls into a cell and is met with an excited fan of Mario. The Goomba does not even bat an eye that he is in a prison cell slowly rotting away, and is just excited at the prospect of seeing the world, and of all he is a fan of the Mushroom Kingdom. After a short interaction with his cellmates, who are then sent away by the guards to be executed, contorted, and bound into origami, and stripped of their free will so they can become a mindless soldier for the regime, one thing that I will state several times throughout this analysis is the connection between King Ollie and his Origami Empire and Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime. The first one is the stapler in the castle basement being a metaphor for the indoctrination and brainwashing of the Nazi propaganda on the German citizens of the time. It kills their former selves and rebirths them as stone-cold, vengeful soldiers ready to go any length to serve the regime. After the doomed conscripts are sent away, Mario hears a strange voice in the room with him. After pulling off some wallpaper, he discovers Olivia, his main traveling companion for the game. After helping him escape from certain demise, the duo discover Bowser, tied up and forced to watch his minions get sacrificed to the stapler and swear allegiance to Origami. This game has been going on for 10 minutes, and already we have body horror, indoctrination of free people into a totalitarian regime, and psychological torture. Let me reiterate that. In the first 10 minutes, Origami King has more mature themes, metaphors, and a conflict than any other Mario RPG, or at this point, really any other game I've played. After freeing Bowser, the heroes make their way to the roof and are confronted with one of the tortured and brainwashed Goombas from Mario's cell. His optimistic and jovial nature have been completely eradicated and replaced with the mindless, cold, vengeful husk that I talked about earlier. The first enemy in the game is the Goomba that Mario has met before, and after his brainwashing, highlights the cruel, personality-destroying effects of indoctrination. There's nothing left of who he was. His desires, fears, hopes, and dreams, they're all stripped away so he can be slaughtered on the battlefield and completely forgotten about. Every enemy you encounter in the game had their own personality, their own goals, passions, interests, but you kill each and every one of them without a second thought because none of it remains in their twisted, animated corpses. After winning the fight, one of the Shy Guys accompanying the Goomba reveals himself to be the villain behind the forceful takeover, invasion, and suppression of the Mushroom Kingdom. Olivia reveals that he is her brother and pleads with him to stop. Her pleas fall on deaf ears, and Ollie, the Origami King, calls forth 5 streamers throughout the land to wrap the castle with and lifts it into the sky, far above the Mushroom Kingdom. Ollie is prepared to kill all of them, even his sister. This immediately establishes Ollie as a serious, cunning, and maniacal villain, ready to cut down anyone to fulfill his goals. The Paper Mario series has had a difficulty in the past making their villains threatening, something really only achieved by the Shadow Queen before King Ollie. As Ollie prepares to take their lives, a Shy Guy, staying true to his loyalty to Bowser, flies towards the stranded heroes in his master's clown car at breathtaking speed, and rescues the trio moments before their demise. They begin to fly back to Bowser's castle before their car is struck by a streamer and Mario and Olivia fall down to the lands below. This is a callback to Paper Mario 64, where Mario falls to the land below from Bowser's castle after he seizes the princess and casts Mario to the ground. This iteration, however, is done in a far more intense and driven way. The conflict of all people of the free world going to war against a rapidly expanding tyrannical empire is one of the greatest rising action sequences and conflict establishment in video game history. The Paper Mario series is not known for its immaculate character arcs. Most partners in the previous games had simple moral lessons that were learned by the end of their chapter, and they were never mentioned again. A good example of this is Koops from the Thousand-Year Door. Koops is introduced in Chapter 1 as a cowardly Koopa with little drive or initiative. When Mario arrives in the village looking for the Crystal Stars, Koops teams up with him to avenge his supposedly dead father. In the end, after the heroes defeat the dragon that ate Koops' father, it is revealed that his father, in fact, survived. They return safely to the village, but Koops decides to keep traveling with Mario out of loyalty. What I just described was your standard character arc in the first 2 games. They were simple, direct, and over by the end of the chapter. Sure, some of them were more emotionally driven than others, such as Admiral Bobbery's arc. Speaking of which, there was so much wasted potential there in that arc. I honestly can't believe it. A story about a sea captain learning to overcome the mourning of his dead wife could have been so great, but was thoroughly botched in execution. I do not mind the quest associated with it, but Bobbery's wife just died from some disease or another while he was away. Just a bit of rewriting could have made his arc so much better. The Thousand-Year Door already has a theme of arrogance and hubris and how it leads to one's judgment to be clouded in pursuit of some temporary goal, as seen in the game with Gratis. Instead of Scarlet dying off-screen and only mentioned, and her cause of death being as simple as a disease, what if Bobbery took her out on an expedition when some turbulent storms hit? Bobbery, a master navigator, would see no problem and decide to continue forward. Scarlet, on the other hand, would beg him to turn around, insisting on the danger. Her pleas falling on deaf ears, Bobbery would continue forward, and after a strong gust of wind, Scarlet would be knocked overboard and sink to the depths of the ocean. This could all be in one quick cutscene and would establish the conflict and Bobbery's motivations, plus guilt, so much better, as it was his arrogance that let her die. Regardless of the missed potential, Bobbery and Koops' arc represent your standard classic Paper Mario arc, and they were good, not great, until Super Paper Mario came. You would comb through Super Paper Mario, Sticker Star, and Color Splash, and you would have a difficult time finding even one good character arc. The only characters that change at all in Super Paper Mario are the villains, who are magically redeemed by the end in what is perhaps the stupidest scene in any video game I've ever played. Yes, the 1,000-Year Door also ended with the villains being inexplicably redeemed, but the difference there is the magical Control-Z effect was after the game ended. The forced redemption is not a problem for the story, as Belda, Marilyn, Dupless, and the X-Dots stayed evil until after the story ended. What happens to them after does not affect the integrity of the narrative, even if it diminishes believability somewhat. It's not as bad as Super Paper Mario, not even remotely. There is a concept present in every Paper Mario game that I have dubbed the I need a hero moment. This part of the game is always during the final boss. Once the fight progresses to a point where Mario can't do damage anymore, all hope seems lost just as some force from his allies comes to save him. In Paper Mario 64, it was Peach and Twink's courage standing up to Kammy Koopa and the power of hope triumphing over evil. This is one aspect where Paper Mario 64 is the best in the series, as it gives Peach her only real character arc in the franchise. The other I Need a Hero moments include, in the 1,000-Year Door, it's the cheers of the citizens that has helped all over the adventure, whose goodwill and kindness breaks the Shadow Queen's invincibility. It's a great moment that, while not as good as Paper Mario 64's, still stands as a climactic ending in its own right. Before anyone asks, I will not discuss Super Paper Mario's I Need a Hero moment, because that scene, the resummoning of the Pure Hearts and Count Bleck and the other villains' redemption, is so infinitely stupid and full of contrivances that it single-handedly killed all my investment in that game. I would go on for another page on this unrelated matter, but I'll spare you the unnecessary details. Sticker Star and Color Splash both have the same I Need a Hero moment. Both of them involved your traveling companions sacrificing themselves to the main villain, but they both come back to life after the game ends, in the same Control-Z effect as before. Origami King does something similar, but so crucially, the Control-Z effect is not in the game, which brings us to our very first character arc, Olivia. She is a simple character, at least in the beginning. She's an origami girl in an origami world. She loves meeting new people, exploring the world she's never seen, feudal Japanese theme parks, singing, and most of all, hot tubs. Even at the very start of the game, her fun-loving attitude and compassionate nature already makes her the best companion in any Mario RPG. She's more likable than Kirsty and Starlo, she has more substance and character traits than Huey, Dreambert, Goombario, or Stuffwell, and she's more charming and well-developed than Tippy or Goombella. She's a universal ray of sunshine, illuminating every aspect of this phenomenal game with her warm, genuine, vibrant personality. If Mario in these games is supposed to represent the hero's journey that any player can relate to, thus being why he never has any dialogue, then Olivia represents the player's emotions. When she is sad, you are sad. When she is happy, you are happy. There are so many amazing things about her character, and we have not even talked about her arc yet. Olivia starts out as a kind-hearted, optimistic, but naive origami girl. She spends the game trying to find her place in the world, meeting new people, trying new things, and finding new passions. The game goes further, however, than just her arc, being learning and growing with more experiences in the world. In Chapter 2, the heroes meet a lost Bob-omb with amnesia, who Olivia affectionately names Bobby. I'll talk about why Bobby not having a real name makes sense for his character arc when we get to him. For now, just know that this choice was very justified, and the opinion that he should have a real name is missing the point of his character. For now, though, let's get back to Olivia. After she meets Bobby, Olivia is enamored by his passive, sarcastic, but loyal nature, and quickly becomes close friends with him. The three heroes leave Shogun Studios, stronger friends than ever before, ready to take on the world. Bobby even recovers his lost memories, but all good things must end eventually. Ollie, sick of the elusive Mario and his traitorous sister, lies in wait at the end of Sweet Paper Valley to murder the meddlesome heroes. He pleads for his sister, the one left he has any semblance of an emotional bond to. He asks her one last time to join him in his vision for a perfect origami world. Olivia, his last hope for redemption, rejects him point blank. She spat on his idea, his future, his world. He wanted to create a perfect origami empire for his sister. All he wanted to do was give his sister a world where she could live a happy life, where she could not be tormented by the flat paper fiends. After all he's done for her, after all he's sacrificed, she rejected his world. This is the turning point for Ollie's character, which will be covered more in his character arc. After his sister chooses flat paper over her own brother, Ollie, enraged, crushes his sister with a boulder, his last connection to the sane world gone. This is where Bobby comes in. His story is intrinsically linked to Olivia, after all. Bobby, up to this point in the game, has been more of an aloof sidekick than a real character. But this is intentional, as the devs wanted his growth to be more apparent. Bobby decides to set off with Mario on an adventure to the Great Sea to recover an item to save Olivia. This is a fun quest that purposefully distracts the player from the tragedy that is to come. After defeating the Paper Macho blooper, Mario and Bobby recover a lost fuse that once belonged to Bobby. Upon returning to Sweet Paper Valley, Bobby explains his backstory to Mario. He's an artificial Bob-omb, created to serve Peach along with the rest of his unit. One day, on the ship he was assigned to, a blooper attacked, devouring the crew and throwing the brave Bob-ombs into the sea. Bobby managed to escape, but in the battle, he lost his fuse and his memories before washing up. A lost bomb in an unfamiliar world. When he recovered his memories, he remembered his true calling. There is a difference in the Mario canon between natural and artificial Bob-ombs. Naturally reproducing Bob-ombs can explode seemingly infinitely and respawn afterwards. This is shown with Bombette in Paper Mario 64 and Admiral Bobbery in the Thousand Year Door. Artificial Bob-ombs, however, that all look the same, are single-use only. They're manufactured to serve a regime, whether that be Peach's or Bowser's. They explode to protect their master, die in the process, and their life's worth is determined entirely by their final impact. Bobby could have lived. He could have found another way to save Olivia, but he chose not to because that was his purpose, that was his duty, and he made his final impact while all of his friends that fell into the sea could not. Bobby has no real name, because that was never who he was. He was always an assembly line bomb, ready to sacrifice himself at a moment's notice. He has no name because he was not an individual, so saying that he needs a name and not having one is uncreative is false given the story. Bobby explodes, destroys the rock, and saves Olivia. Mario rushes to save him, but he's too late. Bobby's dead. Permanently. This is not like the inexplicable Lovey Bee resurrection from Super Paper Mario. Bobby is dead. There's no magical comet that brings him to life, and he dies as he's supposed to, fulfilling his purpose and completing his character arc. Olivia cries out in agony upon learning of Bobby's death, having grown so close to him. But to no avail, she flees desperately into a cave and cries, torn apart by the inconsolable depression. Mario searches for her and tries to talk, to say anything, but she is having none of it. Out of options, Mario leaves, only to find the ghost of Bobby speaking to him. In a post-character conclusion moment, Bobby uses the wisdom he has learned over the course of the journey. Remembering Olivia's normally radiant personality, he deduces that making her laugh is the best solution. Bobby's ghost disappears and is never seen again, firmly hammering down the point that this time there will be no stupid resurrections. Mario once again dons the Goomba mask he acquired at Shogun Studios, and it causes Olivia to burst into a torrent of laughter. all at once, she remembers what Bobby would have wanted. If she abandons her journey now, she won't honor his legacy, and the world will be destroyed by her maniacal brother. This is the story's low point, which is excellently crafted as Mario, the player's avatar, is lost, and Olivia, the player's emotions, is depressed. This leaves the player lonely, confused, saddened, and lost. This is the saddest moment in any Mario RPG, as it communicates so many deep themes in such a short amount of time. It makes Bobbery's backstory look like a children's fairy tale. Despite the Origami King breaking so much real ground, telling mature, well-developed stories for adults, as well as kids, some will say that it was done better with Bobbery or with Count Bleck, but be honest, did those stories have half the depth, themes, and richness that Bobby's story has? Moving on. With Olivia, Chapter 3 sees her learning how to make full use of her singing talents to open the gate to an ancient temple by performing a pop number. But apart from that, her character is affected minimally in this chapter. This changes in Chapter 4, however. After landing on a mysterious mushroom island, the heroes discover the Origami Craftsman, Olivia and Ollie's creator, trapped in a wall, a nice conclusion to the running joke, which will be elaborated on in the next part. After freeing him from the wallpaper prison, Olivia tells him about the atrocities her brother has committed. The craftsman regrets his decision, only wanting to make a truly wondrous art piece for the Origami Festival. He refuses to join the heroes to stop his creation, stating that he failed once and will only fail again. Nevertheless, he teaches Olivia a special folding technique from him before leaving with Mario to continue the adventure. In Chapter 5, apart from learning of Olivia's lust for hot springs, the last character moment is given to her before the finale. After Mario breaches Bowser's castle on the hunt for the final streamer, Olivia is kidnapped in a terrifying scene. A black hand grabs her and pulls her into the dark oblivion of the castle. Mario tracks down the hand monster and saves Olivia from its clutches. After the battle is over, Olivia hugs Mario in a storm of tears, thanking him for all the sacrifice he's made for her. This moment is extremely heartwarming and is a setup for a moment in the finale. Speaking of which, after trouncing Ollie's last minion, the vicious stapler, Olivia breaks down into a fit of tears, unsure if she can stop Ollie after all the hatred that has consumed him. Bowser, in a surprising moment of heroism, tells Olivia that being the parent of a hyperactive child with access to his own army is much harder than the worst Ollie can throw at them. Understanding his struggles, Olivia fears her brother no more and prepares to confront him with newfound vigor. This is such a great bridge as it adds to not one but two character arcs. Olivia finally gains the courage to fight her brother, which is already sufficient for a proper Paper Mario breach. But Bowser, the character who has never had a character arc in any Paper Mario game, finally not only chooses to ally with Mario for fear of being tortured, mutilated, and brainwashed by Ollie, the horror that is Stapler is terrifying enough to convince Bowser to allocate his resources to Mario with no provocation. Whereas in Super Paper Mario, with the threat being the end of the universe, Bowser has to be provoked by Peach into joining the adventure. Bowser has no choice but to join the heroes on their journey this time, which is why he offers to join Mario first, something he never did until then. There's more to talk about in regards to the end of Ollie and Olivia's character arc, but I'm saving that for part 2 as it's more appropriate there. Even lesser characters in the story get their own mini-arcs. Luigi finds every key that Mario needs when he needs it, and finds the key to finally breach Peach's castle at the end of the game. This is most important Luigi has ever had in a Paper Mario game ever. It's even tied with a running joke of how Luigi never finds the key to Peach's castle, but finds every other key in the game exactly when Mario needs it. It's both funny and a good character arc, something that is extremely rare throughout the series. Bowser Jr. risks his life and nearly dies to protect his father. He rushes into battle, unfazed by the Origami army, just to save his father from scissors. The most dangerous enemy to Paper, besides Staplers, kidnaps his father, and Bowser Jr. is completely unfazed. Take notes, Bowser Jr.'s journey. This is how you give Bowser Jr. a satisfying arc without making him into an unlikable prick. Kamek, after years of being ignored, finally gets a chance to command the assault on the overtaken Bowser's castle. castle. It was his plan that got the heroes through the woods safely, and it was his ingenuity that allowed them to storm the castle. In retrospect, the character arcs in the Origami King are evidently the best in the series, full of rich development and dynamism. From the main party to the side characters, everyone gets some time to shine. Well, that's going to be it for part 1 of the Origami King retrospective. There are still 3 parts of the series, so stay tuned. If you want to be the first to see them and are interested in supporting my channel, please like and subscribe. I appreciate all the help. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.